Greetings. Have you ever said, I'm hungry all day, and someone looked at you like you were crazy? Or maybe you've told yourself, that doesn't make sense. I just ate, but I'm still hungry. Today, we're going to talk about why that happens, why it's real, and why it has absolutely nothing to do with willpower. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Andrea Walker, family nurse practitioner, IFBB Pro, and weight loss specialist. Today's episode is one I wish every patient heard before they ever blame themselves for their weight or their eating habits. Because here's the truth: hunger is not a moral issue, it's not a discipline problem, and it's definitely not as simple as just eat less or go to the gym. We have all heard those people out there that will tell you those things, but I'm here to tell you ignore that. By the end of this episode, you'll understand one, how someone can eat until they're full and still feel hungry all day. Two, why hunger lives more in the brain than the stomach. Three, what hormones, blood sugar, stress, and diet culture have done to our bodies. And four, why some people feel peace around food for the first time in their lives when their metabolism is finally supported. So let's get started. Let's start by undoing a lie most of us were taught. We were taught that hunger works like a gas tank. When the tank is empty, you're hungry. When it's full, you're done. That is not the human body works for everyone. There are two separate systems: fullness, which is mechanical, and hunger, which is hormonal and neurological. Your stomach can be physically full, stretched, even uncomfortable, and your brain can still be sending hunger signals. So when someone says, I'm hungry all day, what they're really saying is, my hunger signaling system is dysregulated, not I eat too much, I have no control, or something is wrong with me. The brain decides hunger. This is where most people have their aha moment. Hunger is decided in the brain, not the stomach. The hypothalamus integrates blood sugar levels, hormones, stress signals, sleep deprivation, and past dieting history. So even if food is physically present, the brain might still say, we are not safe, we need more. And the body listens to the brain every time. This is why telling someone to just stop eating when they're hungry all day is like telling someone to just stop coughing when they have pneumonia. It just simply doesn't work that way. And then there's two important hormones, ghrelin and leptin. These are the real players. So let's talk hormones. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone. Ghrelin tells your brain, eat now. In many people, ghrelin stays elevated. It doesn't shut off after meals. It actually increases after years of dieting. And then there's leptin. This is the fullness hormone. Leptin tells your brain, we're satisfied, you can stop eating. But many people develop leptin resistance. That means leptin is present, but the brain doesn't hear it. I tell patients it's like yelling, I'm full, into a phone with no service. So you eat and eat and eat. Not because you want to, but because the signal never arrived. And now let's talk about blood sugar and the hunger roller coaster. This is all about what we eat. If your meals are high in refined carbs, low in protein, and low in fiber, this is what happens. Your blood sugars will spike, your insulin will surge, you will have blood sugar crashes, and hunger will return fast and intense. So someone might eat a large meal and say, I'm starving an hour later. I won't say any specific names, but it's kind of like eating a large meal at a fast food restaurant. So, this is why sometimes when you go to fast food restaurants or even Oriental restaurants, say buffets, and you eat and eat and eat, and then you're hungry an hour later, if you had a ton of refined carbs, didn't have very much protein or fiber, yes, you are going to be starving, or there's a good chance you will be starving later. That's not your imagination, that's physiology. Highly processed foods also override satiety signals. They are designed to keep you eating past fullness, but not into satisfaction. Now let's talk about stress, sleep, and survival mode. This is real life. Chronic stress raises cortisol. Poor sleep raises ghrelin. Both increase cravings. Your body doesn't know you're stressed at work, or overwhelmed as a parent, or exhausted from burnout, or many other things. But your body thinks we are under threat. And under threat, the body seeks energy. So hunger becomes a survival response. That's why telling someone under chronic stress to just eat less often backfires. I always tell my patients, try not to stress. And then I add in, I know that's easier said than done. But when you are stressed, it increases your cortisol levels, which is not good. This is kind of on the side, but I was listening to a spiritual podcast, and the preacher was saying, marry someone who keeps your cortisol levels low. And I kind of chuckled because I've never really heard a preacher talk about cortisol levels, but I thought, yeah, that's a good point. I will keep that in mind. But you want to try to keep those cortisol levels low. Again, easier said than done. Now, let's move on to diet culture and metabolic adaptation. This is a big one. When you spend years of yo yo dieting or severe calorie restriction or fasting without metabolic readiness, this teaches the body one thing: food is unpredictable. So the body adapts by lowering your metabolism, which we don't want to happen, increasing hunger hormones, which we don't want to happen, and holding on to fat, of course, we don't want to happen. The brain says eat whenever you can. This is not failure. This is biology protecting you. And then let's talk about the coin term that's become very popular: food noise. Food noise has become very popular since the GLP-1 medications. Many patients do tell me, I think about food all day, or I'm not even hungry, but I want to eat, or I never feel satisfied. That's called food noise. It's constant mental chatter around food, not because you love food, or maybe you do, but more so because your brain is dysregulated. Once that noise quiets, people say, is this how normal people feel? Yes, it is. This is why a lot of people can eat, they're fine, they're not thinking about food, but there are people who have this dysregulation. And yes, they have food noise. And I know people love the GLP-1s when it helps with their food noise. It's amazing. So, speaking of, let's talk a little more about GLP-1 medications and using them responsibly. They improve satiety signaling, meaning you're full. They slow gastric emptying, keeping you full for longer. And they reduce the food noise as well as stabilize blood sugar. They normalize hunger. For many people, it's the first time their biology works with them instead of against them. Medication is not a shortcut, it is a tool and should be used responsibly. So, what can you do right now? Here's what helps whether or not you use medication. I always say prioritize protein no matter what, whether you're doing it by diet alone or you're taking medications. Protein is going to be your friend. And you want to build meals around fiber. You want to stop extreme restriction. So, even with the GLP-1s, if you cannot eat, then either your dose needs to be lowered or perhaps that just might not be the best medication for you. You also want to prioritize sleep. Managing stress intentionally is super important. And then you want to stop moralizing hunger. Now, as we close, I want you to remember this. If you've been hungry all day for as long as you can remember, I want you to hear this clearly. You were never broken. Your body was trying to protect you. And just tune out those that will tell you you just need to push back from the table, eat less, and work out. Now, if this episode helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want support, medical, nutritional, or metabolic, make sure you reach out to a licensed healthcare provider. Again, I'm your host, Dr. Andrea Walker, family nurse practitioner. Always remember to take care of your body and give yourself grace. And don't forget, make sure to meal prep, work out, and drink your water. Until next time, I'll see you in about a week. Bye bye.